Hi. So I just wanted to quickly go over some of the tips for working in teams and how you work in a team in this class. So the first thing you want to do is just get everybody's contact information. Just, get everybody's email or phone number, whatever you need to get into contact with them so that you can actually meet at some point. Then you want to decide on your meeting times and frequency, especially early on this semester. You will likely need to have a synchronous meeting where you're all talking together. This is can be either a video chat or in person or a combination, but everybody there at the same time, because there's going to be a lot of things early on. As the semester goes on and you figure out how things work and how you're going to do things, then you can move to doing things more asynchronously using GitHub issues and that stuff and other techniques. But yeah, initially I recommend at least once a week to meet for the first few weeks, if not more. I also highly recommend you use one of these chat apps like Slack or Microsoft Teams or Google Hangout, Discord, whatever you like. So these are little apps that let you type in text messages, and everybody can see the chat room. Everybody in your team, they're private to your team, so you can just quickly discuss things, ask questions. These are something that we used, even decades ago. So, and even if you're in the same room, like when you have a room of people working, doing programming, you still want this, and people still use this because, for example, say you find a URL to that Stack Overflow question that answers your problem. It's a big URL. You don't want to just yell it over to the person next couple of chairs over. So, you cut and paste it into the chat room. Similarly for, little code snippets that you find, you can, just put those in there and send those over. And also just, just cut and pasting from web pages, when you find little paragraphs that explain the situation, and error messages. So you get an error message and you try to compile or try to deploy, and cut and paste it and send it to your teammates, and they're like, oh yeah, I just saw that error. This is how you solve it. They just saved you a couple hours. And then another reason you want to use these is because, let's say I'm gone for the day, I come back, I log into our team chat room, and then I can scroll back and see what people have been talking about today, what new things they found out. It's like, oh, we found a solution to that problem, or, we think we're going to do this, or this other thing, we're going to approach it this way or that way. So I can catch up. I can see what people have been up to. So, yeah, these are meant to be for, like I said, informal conversations. For more, if it's something like, like a big decision that you need to make for your project, like we're trying to decide, are we going to do, Android or iOS? And, you're going to have a big discussion about it. You should use a GitHub issue. Or you're trying to decide which of these three libraries should we pick, and one of you goes in and does some research on the various libraries. So as they're doing research, they can use that GitHub issue to post information. Well, I found out this, and on this library I found out this, and this third library can do these other things, and then people can add their comments, and then you can make a decision and close that issue, and that remains there now forever as its own little issue. You can refer to it back later on when you maybe decide to redo that decision. You're wondering, why did we decide on this one? You can go back and look at it in that issue. So those bigger decisions should be on GitHub issue. The Slack, that's just for informal conversation, chat. In your first meeting, you should also discuss what technologies you have used and what technologies you want to use. This is just so everybody can know what everybody else has been up to, and what they know, what they're good at, and what they want to be good at. Because that will affect your decisions down the road. Discuss how you're going to make decisions. So typically you do some sort of voting for some of the decisions, but when you get down to, say deciding on the user interface, maybe you have like experts. So one or two of you become experts in UI design, and you make all the decisions about the UI. Others become experts in the database and make decisions about how that's going to happen, etc. That's really more like how a company would work, right? The back-end experts make those decisions, and front-end experts make other decisions, etc. And then finally, you want to discuss early on how you're going to handle people who don't contribute or are late with doing things. Do you want to like move the deadlines up so that they're due to the team before they're due to me, and so that you can, if somebody doesn't pull through, you can have somebody else do it, or other ways you want to handle that. So try to discuss that a little bit. The main thing about a team is, the central thing you want to do is always communicate, right? So you want everybody to be talking to each other. You should always know what everybody else in your team is doing and when they're going to have it done by, or when they plan to have it done by. Many times not going to be able to, that's fine. But at least they should have done something. These are teams of 4 or 5 people, so really you should know what everybody else in the team is working on. That can be harder once you get to like bigger teams, but for this class it should not be a problem. And then you will be doing all this via communication via GitHub issues, via Slack or Teams or whatever other method you choose to communicate. The one thing that students often forget is that you're also communicating to each other via code. So this will be later on this semester, and then into next semester definitely you're doing a lot more programming. So your code is a way to communicate with your teammates. You make sure you pick good variable names. So these might be long variable names. Not the kind of thing you might use for a homework problem, but definitely the kind of thing you use in real software. And you have thousands and thousands of lines of code. You want long variable names that tell you what that variable does. You want good code comments. I'm sure the various classes have asked you to do that. You've wondered why. But the first time you get a commit from your teammate with no code comments, and you have no idea what the code is supposed even to do, you're gonna appreciate good code comments. You're gonna be like, oh, I wish they had written some comments describing what this does. And that's the whole goal of the good commenting, is your comment should describe at a high level. I don't want detail level because, then I'm just reading code. But at a higher level, what does this function do, or what is it meant to do? Especially when you're starting out, your comments are going to be more like, well, I hope this is going to do this. You don't have to say I hope, but you can say, this does this, not yet. And explain what it's going to do once you're finished with it. But yeah, at a very high, fairly high level. And finally, the commit comments is similar to code comments. So when you git commit your code, you write a little comment. That comment should describe what changes you're making at a high level. So, I added a login page, or I changed the logout procedure, whatever. But this should be good, descriptive, so other people can read them, go to GitHub, they can read the comment, and they know what you did without having to look at your code. Most meetings are going to be decision meetings, meaning that the whole purpose of the meeting is to make a bunch of decisions. Basically, you're going to decide what things need to get done and who is going to do them. So, you start with the milestones I give you. So that needs to get done, but that's a very high level. Then you break it down into smaller, lower level stuff, figure out what those things are, and you assign them to people. You decide who is going to do what. I have a couple of things here about just noting that, especially in this class, you're learning your framework. As you're starting out, you don't know what to do, so you're going to have to make a lot of decisions without all that much information. That's fine, right? So maybe you don't know, should we go with this A, B, or C? many times it won't matter. Just pick one, right? The worst thing you can do is, not pick one, and then you don't turn in the milestone, you don't get the work done, nothing happens, everybody fails. Not good. So just make a decision. Generally, there's not going to be that much difference, right? So you can pick one and go with it, and just know that later on during the semester, you will be constantly sort of reevaluating those decisions. That's fine. That's how things work. So later on, you might come back and say, oh, we decided on that. You can go back to the GitHub issue. I remember when we did that, we made that decision. Well, now we know better, and we know why that was wrong. Let's fix it. Let's rewrite it, and do it the right way. And that's normal. That's part of learning, and you should do it. And don't be afraid of that you're going to waste time, because really now you know a lot more. So if you ever had to rewrite a program that you wrote before, you would know that the second time you write the program, you're like 100 times faster, right? The first time is really hard. The second time it's super easy. Even if it's like a little bit different, it's just way easier because you've done it before. So the typical workflow for these decision meetings, like I said, is just, make some decisions, figure out what needs to get done, add GitHub issues for each thing that needs to get done, and assign those GitHub issues to people. I'm going to have a whole separate lecture on GitHub issues, my GitHub lecture later on, where I explain how that works. So I'm not going to go into GitHub issues anymore. You also have like a work meetings. It's not really a meeting. It's just, okay, we're going to work together on this thing. Typically for coding, well, we don't do that as much, because coding, when you're actually programming, you're really doing it by yourself. You have to, what you do while you're programming is you'll have Slack open, or whatever chat app you're using. And, again, when you get to that error message, you'll cut and paste it there. And if somebody else in your team is coding and they just saw that error message, and they'll give you the solution to it. And like, oh yeah, I saw that this morning, spent 2 hours figuring it out. Here's what you need to do. And so they just saved you 2 hours. But that's sort of the extent of it. In the design milestones, which you're going to be doing now, like in the next month or so, it does make sense to sort of have a work meeting. So design is like when you're doing the design for your whole UI. So you're deciding how the UI is going to look, what menu elements you're going to have, what are the pages, etc. So, a design is really just 1,000 little decisions. So it makes sense that it's something that you do as a team. You just have all these decisions to make about what menu items, how to set it up, and so on. So you can do that together, synchronously, all meeting together. So it makes sense in those design meetings to be, like work meeting, or just synchronously working on it. So the last thing is I want to talk a little bit about the problem with teammates that don't show up or don't do their work. The first thing I want to remind everybody is that, as I mentioned in the welcome app, when I went over the syllabus, you are not responsible for anybody else's work in the class, right? So you're responsible to do your work and make a contribution to the team, and that's how you will be graded. If you don't make any contribution to the team, you will fail the class, obviously. But you're also not responsible for getting your teammates to work. That's not your job. All you have to do is just make sure that, assign them some work, say, do this. If they don't do it, right, we have this firing process. So if you have a teammate that just hasn't done anything, and you think they're not going to do anything, and you can start the firing process, which, as I discussed before, is basically, you're going to give them something to do, give them a couple weeks, and if they don't do that thing by the end of the deadline, then they fail the class right away. And that's it. So this actually works. A lot of people just need this final deadline, last possible in time. So they just need this to actually, get up and start doing some work. They realize it is serious. which it is. It always was. But unless it's really obviously serious, some people just don't react. So we've done it in the past, and people have said, "Oh, okay, let me get to work on this." Other times, they just don't do anything, and that's fine. People have other priorities in life. Maybe this class is not a priority for them. Maybe they have other more important things to do. This class does take a lot of time. There's a lot of time you're going to be spending programming and doing the various things. So it's understandable, right? So they can just take it again next year. So that's it.